Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks in another match of Beyond All Reason, where today we're taking a look at a game that was played quite recently here on Silver Ridge, a map we don't get to take a look at all too often, so I'm quite thrilled to see exactly what these commanders are up to. And before we proceed into this match here today, I want to give another shout out to the Bar Pro League, which does have the official qualifiers up and open. If you'd like to sign up for that, the Challonge link will be down below in the description section, as well as a link to their Discord, where all the events are coordinated. Feel free to go check that out down below. Other than that, while you're visiting, you may as well like and subscribe and join the Brightworks community. We're growing every day, and so is the Beyond All Reason community as a whole, and I'm very thrilled to be a part of that. So if you're interested in joining the community, playing some fun games, and otherwise hanging out, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below. And without further ado, our match here today, spawning as the blue team leader, is an Armada commander, a 25 open skill hero that goes by the name of Rofdo. Rofdo, the blue commander here, going to be spawning on the front line and going to eventually be getting into some kind of tech here. Usually we have a tech decision by this point, but it looks like there we are, eventually going to get into bots. Alright, it's bots or vehicles, of course, but vehicles tend to be preferred, so it's interesting to see. But well, you know what? I take it all back. I'll talk about why in just a second here. Our red team leader, walking, wow, very aggressively fun, very far forward here. Very funny far forward, the red commander, Pro Lord Vader. 45 open skill, and my goodness, setting quite a discrepancy here between the two teams, for sure. If there was a commander that's far and away above the ranks of everybody else here, it's going to be Lord Vader. It's essentially going to be up to the blue team to shut down the red commander and break this line specifically. We do have the brown commander back here, which is the online 2021 is the commander of choice here today. That is the lowest commander on the chopping block here on the totem pole here for the red team. So it does mean this left-hand side has the weaker commander, but also the strongest commander. So kind of balancing that out ever so slightly here. Everything else looks pretty relatively balanced across the board for the blue team, but this is a super aggressive start right here for the red team. Now I'll tell you why everybody's choosing bots right here, except for the players in the midsection. It's because of these hills. Silver Ridge has a whole bunch of these hills. In fact, I may as well just do this. Every one of these round hills, there's sort of four main ones on the map right here. They have these hillsides on the side. Bots can walk right on up those, where vehicles, of course, cannot. They can traverse these little pathways that are much more green along the sides right here, but they cannot traverse up these little hillsides, these little slopes. So it does mean that bots have a distinct advantage on this map. There's ways that you can harass enemy bases from angles that otherwise vehicles, just can't defend from. And so it makes a lot of sense to go for those bots, if only for the fact that you end up with a nice ability to harass the enemy from weird spots. Lord Vader going to be going into some good old-fashioned thug gameplay. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a good old-fashioned thug march. We just take these thugs and march them across the map here and try and get some value. We already have the res bot out, which is going to do a great job of repairing them. Pretty consistent here that the top commanders are going for this strategy where you just build a bunch of thugs, build a bunch of grave robbers, push with the thugs, resurrect with the grave robbers, and eventually you end up on the enemy's doorstep. And it's a pretty effective strategy, one that I've seen crush many a commander before. Big wide open hillside on this area right here. The tank commander moving in to try and harass. We have some ticks moving forward, but there are pawns in position. Rofdo going to detect this at the very least, and those pawns, okay, one tick goes down for one pawn. Not a bad trade there for the tank commander. Eventually, these ticks will outspeed the defensive pawns right here and manage to make into the backline. These ticks have a lot of work to do, but there is the opportunity to do it. As you can see, just an aircon right here. So if we spread these ticks out, sending one apiece to each of these bases, I really wouldn't mind it. Yeah, moving those ticks into the backline to try and do as much damage as possible. And it looks like that is what we're doing here. The ticks have been split, and now they're going to be headed towards the metal extractors. A single LLT back here, but already one of those mexes has fallen. And it's super awkward because, Nuclear Gandhi going to be, well, boosting the laboratory of the blue commander, but at the same time, losing the mexes in the backline to the ticks. Ooh, that is so rough. Blue commander not paying attention to the backline economy. We need to use these construction turrets to eat up these ticks. Oh, we're ecoing, but we're not. Ooh, okay. We have the facilities for a citizen's arrest right here. Looks like this tick will be dealt with. Oh yeah, that one was reclaimed. There we go. This one cleaned up nicely by a pawn here. Looks like LLT was in place as well, which is quite nice. Okay, overall, damage is mitigated largely. Still, these mexes that are down over here, that's 4 metal per second. It adds up over time. It certainly does. There's a couple of dead pawns, or grunts rather, on the other side of the field here as well. Looks like they were trying to harass the red backline, but that is a LLT to defend. It will be enough. We have pawns pulled from the front here to defend. A little pawn run by as well from the green commander. I'd love to see that. The blue team overall being quite a bit more aggressive, save only for the red commander, who is doing a fabulous job of kind of just bulwarking the way forward here. We're I mean, it's kind of an extreme overstepping right here, but as long as the red team can kind of keep this front intact and this front intact, it sort of keeps the red player from harassment. Love the pawns moving in here. I mean, I think that's a great idea. There is one LLT to defend, but yeah, I don't know. Oh, nice self-D on the metal extractor there. Does a little bit of damage. LLT will be able to fire away. Radar tower goes down. Yeah, damage mitigated pretty nicely. Build power stays up and running too, and that's super important right here. All said and done, not the end of the world for the red commander. Going to be more than happy to rebuild. Banana Joe going to be stepping forward at this point. Did go into a little bit more of a little bit slower of a start right here, as we are sending some units forward at this point. A bunch of Rocketeers, or Aggravators rather, Cortex Rocketeers moving forward, while we also have tech coming up in the back line here. The green commander right on time for that about 6 minute mark tech transition. This is not really a map for a tech player though. I feel like what you really want to do is just have one of these commanders, rather than playing tech in the back, you just have him grab all these mexes and play a frontliner position. Lord Vader is denying so much economy right here. We are pushing forward, shutting down a bunch of the units from moving in, and despite the fact that, well, the green commander is under siege, all these red units are going to be followed up by Resbots. Yeah, there it is. Resbot moving out right here to eat up all this metal, as long as the push succeeds anyway. As long as the LLTs fall and the units are cleared up for a decent amount of time, the Resbot has all the time in the world to go ahead and eat up a whole bunch of this metal. Keeping it in the back here, pulling back the injured units as well. Ooh, rockets barely don't kill that Resbot. They're trying desperately to kill it. Commander will move on over in this direction too. Okay. Well, this is checkmate. This is as close as you get in this game to checkmate, because suddenly you've got units on the production in the backline. Constructors do fall. Commander now in the backline base. We can set up AA to deal with the Shuriken. We can, of course, use the commander for a little bit of reclaim and repair as well. This really is a terrible situation for the blue team. What a wonderful push right here from the red commander. This is nothing overcomplicated. You could do this in your own games. If you emulate what exactly the red commander is doing here, play pretty aggressively, grab those mexes, keep the bases alive with some LLTs. Use the commander to do a little bit of repair. Just make sure that you keep those units alive at all costs. You can put yourself just in exactly the same position. Again, this is not really something crazy complicated. It's just the same old thug push that we've seen over and over again here from basically every Cortex commander. Now, Aggravator's doing a decent job of cleaning this up eventually. Not the most accurate or fastest firing of units, so taking a little bit here. Certainly enough time for the red commander to go ahead and enjoy the feast that is the former base of the green commander. Purple commander eventually going to clean all this up. The question is, has the red commander gotten over 1,000 metal worth of value out of this? And I would say absolutely. I mean, basically an entire base dead. We do have a new lab producing a whole bunch of new units. The green commander continuing the assault on the front line, acting like there wasn't a gigantic loss right there, but that was certainly a heavy hit. All of a sudden, the red commander is fighting multiple fronts, though, and that could start to get a little bit dicey. We do have another bundle of thugs built up right here. Obviously, the one on the front here is eventually evaporated as the aggravators push forward. If we can kill this commander without losing too many of these aggravators, send them to the front line, and then use them to pressure down every one of these LLTs right here, I think we can counterattack and it'd be devastating. But the thugs right here, ooh, are pushing forward. Oh, Science Commander in so much trouble. 21%, 18%. I don't think he's got enough. Shuriken here. Unleveling the playing field. Skewing things nicely in the Cyan Commander's favor, or out of the Red Commander's favor. There we go. That's the Red Commander snipe, by the way. Not bad at all. Yeah, Shuriken doing a great job of equalizing this, or semi-equalizing this. This was a huge advantage for the Red Commander. With all that metal that was reclaimed, we produced a whole bunch more thugs to replace the ones we lost. Now they're being paralyzed out of the fight right here. Still, though, there's not really enough. Yeah, one anti-air bot is all it takes, certainly, to shuttle this down as well. And suddenly, I mean, that's a lot of metal, and it's not really being reclaimed right here. The Cyan Commander can't move in to reclaim all that. The Purple Commander is essentially going to have to step up to the task of pincer maneuvering with the Cyan hero right here. But we do have, well, we had T2. Where's the T2 go? Oh, there we go. Okay, T2 Mex is coming up in the backline. 8 metal per second coming out right here. Meanwhile, no backliner over here is the important note. So we have T2 air being produced. Very interesting. T2 air is kind of nice because it does mean you can tap those T2 Mexes a little bit quicker. And on this map, there's big clumps of metal extractors and then a few spread out in between. So it does kind of make sense to just put a little bit of build power next to all the big clumps of metal extractors and just upgrade them with the T2 aircon. Obviously, you're not going to be able to build them very quickly with the aircon, but yeah, if you just go ahead and upgrade them or tap them in order to start the production, then of course you can finish it with any amount of build or any other build power source. Aggravators here, again, trading out against the thugs. We need to be really aggressive right here. We need to, one, take control of this metal field, which the Red Commander is doing a lovely job of eating up right here. Man, gotta hand it to Vader for holding on to the key strategic points of this map right here. Knocking out one of these commanders pays for the commander that effectively wasn't playing here in the backline. This is the difference between a traditional game, this is like Supreme Isthmus gaming, where everyone has their spot, there's a tech, there's an air, versus aggro metagaming. So far it's worked out nicely for the red team, but they need to take advantage of that amount of metal that was pulled back right here. Brown commander now streaming out forces, but really, I mean, this front line was never pushed in. The opportunity was huge right here for the hot pink and brown commanders to push in because the red commander had killed the green. Nobody ever put any pressure on, so I guess the green commander lives, and now the mexes are rebuilt. Okay. Despite an entire base going away, the red team really didn't take advantage of it. Now Vader is forced to go up 2v1 right here. Oh, this is a terrible situation. Red was totally in the lead, but now that T2 advantage is going to be theirs. We have some T2 units streaming out of the lab as well. We are handing them over. Looks like, where is that T2 production coming out of? Looks like we do have a T2 lab for the orange and yellow commanders alike. Tank commander's still on T1, but they're going to start slowly firing away here with those T2 Hound plasma projectiles. Still, though, T2 being upgraded in basically every base. The entire blue team ready to turn to the T2 advantage. We've got units firing away over here. We've got the tower in jeopardy, the twin guard. It will fall. Just an overwhelming number of thugs. Ooh, there we go. That's a nice push right there. Looks like the units finally decide to get aggressive. Suddenly, the pink and brown forces combined manage to push forward and wipe out the green commander as well as all the fortifications on the front. A beautiful snipe right here as suddenly these units push forward. This should have happened 2 minutes ago, but better late than never, as now all that metal is lying in the front line. Where is our resbot to enjoy the spoils of war? Should you kill the enemy but not reclaim their metal, you've effectively donated your army to the enemy. Yeah. Red commander scuttling the base here in the most efficient way possible, just eating up the laboratory and hoping that the T2 transition in the backline will save them. Oh my goodness, what is this? Bunch of maces in the backline taking out the... Oh, that's brutal. D-gun kills the laboratory. Where did the T2 lab go? Was it D-gunned as well? Oh no. Oh no. Maroon commander starting from scratch. That is brutal. At least we still have the T2 cons, so we can kind of get back into this. That is a huge hit, though. That's a I mean, that is an entirely dead commander at this point. Oh, that's brutal. Little bit of a wraparound force right here as the brown and pink forces, instead of pushing forward into the base here, just turn and try and go after the commander. Chatoriel or Chatoriel or Chatoriel. Sounds French. The, yeah. Cyan commander is going to go down right here. How do you say that? It would just be like... Turiel, Chure, something like that. I'm sure my French accent is spot on. All the French folk in the comments section right now are just raving about how spot on my French accent is. I'm certain of it. Super aggressive play right there from the red commander. Unfortunately, falling prey to the most common and prolific problem in Beyond. I'll say problem. I guess it's, you know, it's kind of a feature. It's kind of just something to be aware of. If you're not coordinated with your team, if your team isn't just as aggressive as you are in the push, you effectively set yourself up. You tee yourself up perfectly for a 1 or 2 or 3v1. And it's pretty easy to lose after that point. You have to play incredibly well. You have to play better than a 45 open skill player to beat the 2 or 3v1. It's just not possible. Beyond Horizon is a numbers game, and at the end of the day, it's about how many forces you can field and if you can field them in the right position here, and it just isn't possible. The Red Commander didn't have enough economy. Despite absorbing an entire base, it still didn't beat the, I don't know, 2 bases worth of people producing economy. Just sort of goes to show exactly how powerful that can be. Anyways, Resbot's here for the blue team, eating up this nearly 4,000 metal worth of wreckage. 1,000 of it already down the drain right here in the form of that commander, and now another 3,000 in just corpses. No reason to keep producing T1. It looks like we are on our way towards T2 as we get our energy up and running. Yeah, it looks like we need some advanced solar panels, but aside from that, things are stabilizing. Now the right-hand front is looking terrible for the blue team. I will say there are rovers and rascals running in right here. We have rocket spiders firing into the distance. Going to be quite bad against these fast-paced little dune buggy things. Sprinters, you know, pretty good. Pretty good. That's not true, actually. I'm lying to your face. Sprinters are awful. But they do look funny, and that's, you know, points in my book. Yeah, sprinters are terrible. Every time I see sprinters, I want to believe, I want to hope, but in a straight-up match against basically any other counterpart, whether it's the Whether it's the, gosh, what are they called for Legion? The Hoplites or the Fiend, which are sort of the counterpart units in the same role. They're just on the bottom of the ladder, and unfortunately that's just how it stacks up sometimes.
Self-destructed.
Commander self-destructed. Oh, okay. Well, Commander self-destruct here. I guess we needed the influx of resources to finish up our dual fusion reactor T2 laboratory transition right here for the Seafoam Green Commander. Typically, you want to go ahead and go for one of the two of these before the other. You can use the energy production to make metal. You can convert the energy into metal to build the T2 lab, or you can use the T2 lab to produce units to kill the enemy to pay for the fusion reactor. Either one of those strategies, perfectly fine. Together, though, you end up halfway done with both of those. Pitbull blocked by another Pitbull under construction. It will be freed nicely here by the Red Bulls that are marching forward here, or rolling forward, I should say. Pitbull's pretty good, actually, against these heavy tanks. There's not a lot that is, so it's well worth pointing out, you know, any unit they can. Bulls do kill the T2 laboratory, though. The LLT trying its very best as well, but I think that Pitbull is really the only thing standing between this base and utter destruction. Again, Rocket Spider's trying their best, but this right-hand side has crumbled. I love the dual economy here, where we're trying to sort of commie greed up a little bit of a strategy, but it just didn't hold against the overwhelming force right here on the right-hand side. Red Commander knocked out of the game, and so was handed a bunch of units to Micro. And one of the nice things about having a super high OS commander on your team is if you let them go to town with the units, they can do some phenomenal stuff with the Micro, including keeping your hounds out of fire here from the LLTs and Pitbulls and that sort of thing, and using all the units to their particular strengths, rather than accidentally wasting them on the front line, which can be the killer of games. You can lose games, you can clutch defeat from the jaws of victory, as I like to say, by accidentally throwing away your assault units, or your siege units on the assault and your assault units on the siege. Purple Commander needs to start getting real aggressive. We need these units to push forward. Those are just a bunch of T1. No reason those should be allowed to stay up and running here. The Brown Commander continuing to pump out T1 like their life depends on it, and would just well may. The Fiends here should be more than enough to blast through all this, though. Frankly, it's all T1 on this front line, actually. Fiends should be having a field day right here. They're being used kind of inappropriately. They need to be either self-destructing in the middle of this giant ball of units, or not engaging a gigantic forest of LLTs. Either of those options, pretty good on their own, but yeah, pushing into the LLTs while engaging in a less than spread out pattern, not ideal. Like I was just saying a minute ago about throwing away thousands and thousands of metal into your enemy's grasp. It's a very convenient way of doing it. Maroon Commander, I will give credit, has brought themselves back quite nicely here. We're working on some build power. We need a little bit more energy production and whatnot, but you can always use more energy production. As an air player, you need, it's almost like 5 times the amount of energy that you would normally need. You just need a huge amount for these planes. They're super, super energy dense. 4,000 metal for a bomber, 2,009, basically 3,000 metal just for your default basic T1 unit. Super expensive. The tick spam here from the Green Commander, I guess, scaring the red and yellow commanders. The Mauser, of course, known to friendly fire on those ticks. Trying to be useful, end up accidentally shooting their teammates in the face pretty often. Gunships in the air, quite nice as well. I'd love to see him take out the anti-air first, though. Targeting down those crossbows wouldn't be the end of the world. Of course, the Jaguar have a little bit of anti-air on them as well. All of it is light AA, though. It's not the end of the world. This flak truck, however, does pack a much more explosive punch. Blue Commander just reclaiming and sending as much metal as possible back to the Green Commander, who has a decent economy. Double fusion reactor on the back of a whole bunch of T2 mexes is quite nice. Purple Commander leveling up those mexes as well. Here we do have a couple that are untapped, weirdly enough. Like one here, one here. We got another one up here on the front. Kind of an odd slew of mexes that haven't been upgraded to T2 right here. We also have T2 units just straight up not being used. Once you have T2, the quicker you use it, the more effective and more efficient it's going to be. Super important that you get that value as quick as you can. A couple of Gunslingers on the front right here. I don't particularly hate the Gunslinger. It's just that it's awful against T2. Look how much damage these bulls do, and any of these Gunslingers that goes down has effectively been a waste. The ones that stay up and running will live to tell the tale. They'll repair themselves back up quite nicely. They're effectively a novelty unit, but a couple of them to stop the T1, yeah, I don't mind it. The early stages here, where you still have a little bit of T1 mixed in with the T2, or maybe a little bit of T2 mixed in with the T1, rather. The Gunslingers can find some value. Up against straight-up bulls, though, yeah, not going to be ideal. Shuriken, doing a great job of paralyzing everything, though. What does a Gunslinger cost? 650, so 2/3 the cost of a bull for one Gunslinger. It feels crazy. Really, they're the kind of unit that you have to get so much value out of that in your typical game, you're just never going to be able to. Might be eating those words, though, here, as the Gunslingers do push forward. And they do level up. Like, these get better and better over time as they fire. It's just that I'm not sure that it makes enough of a difference. One hero Gunslinger is never going to be worth more than a Tsar.
Commander has died.
Commander goes down. Wasp gunships in the air, super annoying. They're kind of a jack of all trades. They do decent damage, they have decent range, decent speed, fairly above decent health. They are effective in virtually any environment. Gunslinger, man, showing off just how good they can be. I really am shocked. I feel like we never see Gunslinger used to virtually any success. So far today, with Shuriken support, with air support, and with just a dozen of them or so on the field right here. They're all right. They're all right. Well, here we go. We've handed them over to the blue commander, which I think is also an effective strategy here. Of course, just letting the commanders that have spare APM go ahead and micro these is always going to be a worthwhile option. Just means that they're going to get more and more value out of them. Yeah, I don't hate this. As long as they stay alive, then yeah, they're going to continue being effective. You just really don't want to fight those bulls. That's kind of the main thing. I mean, I guess if you spread them out really properly, take a decent concave, and you're super careful to micro back the injured ones, you could probably fight it, and it'd probably be fine. Probably. Bombers jumping on top of this front line here, but man, there's actually stellar anti-air defense. We have the chainsaw already up and running. That's going to cut down those T1 bombers pretty quickly. Chainsaws are even good against dragons, just to give you some scope of exactly how powerful these anti-air turrets are. They're very good. They overall have a raw DPS output that's fairly impressive. They just don't switch targets like you'd think they would. You would almost expect them to function like Karganeth, where their missiles switch targets midair. They won't do that. I think they should. They won't, though. Armada tech just isn't quite sophisticated enough for that sort of thing. Don't even know how they pulled it off with the Karganeth. There's got to be some stolen Armada engineering in there. All this talk about elegant strategic play, with the Karganeth being the most elegant and strategic missiles I've ever seen in my life. I don't buy it. I don't buy that every system on the Karganeth was built by Cortex engineers. The chassis, 100%. The weapon system, though, no. Too distinctly Armada to believe that, for sure. This is what happens when you start flooding T1 units into T2. The efficiency difference just goes off the charts, and all of a sudden we've dumped a couple thousand metal into effectively T2 units for the enemy here. Yeah. That's why that T2 transition is so important. It's not just about keeping up with the tech level, the sheer tech level. That's about making sure your units trade efficiently, because these ones sure haven't. Most of them died before they even got a shot in, and the ones that did get a shot in did practically 0 damage. Sheldon Ball now looking devastating. There's no reason this couldn't go ahead and push forward for the win. I would like to see a couple of sumos out in front, though. 2 or 3 sumos can really strengthen this composition. Struggling over my words here as I fanboy over the Sheldon Ball. 2 or 3 sumo is really all it takes in order to turn a composition like that into a game-winning condition, a victory condition. Sprinters getting their day in the sun here as well. T2 mechs coming up here as well. Man, feels so late. We still have untapped mechs here, by the way, for the red team. What an overwhelming advantage in the early game, only to completely turn around as soon as that T2 hits the field and as soon as the counterattack goes across. What an unfortunate moment right there for the red commanders, who thought they had it all in the bank and maybe got a little bit eager, or a little under-eager, kind of thought they had the game and didn't fight for it, at least not nearly as hard as they should have. A little bit of friendly firebombing there. Oops. Sometimes you can do that accidentally and not even realize it. Yeah, this is an unfortunate moment for the red team, realizing the dawning realization that suddenly this game is not going the way that they thought it was earlier on. A couple of gunslingers still alive over here. I see corpses all over the place. You can see 3 bulls and then the corpses of like 8 gunslingers. Yeah. These robots are terrible. The yeehaws, as some of my lovely co-commentators put it. They're so funny. They have a beautiful design. They have that little spiked, I don't know, spine. They're so bad. Gunslinger v Gunslinger battle. What a funky matchup. You end up with this weird situation where they're just leveling off of each other over and over again. Banishers here up on the hillside, super dangerous, super annoying, firing away at the low ground laboratory here. Boom goes the T2 lab for the pink commander, signaling the end of days. Rocket spiders firing away here at these frontline units as well. The right-hand side in trouble, but we're building more gunslingers. Oh my goodness. Herp the IF loop, if loop. Oh, it's a coding reference. The if loop, I guess. Usually it's a for loop, but anyway. The green commander here, very addicted to the gunslinger. I don't know. I'm not sold. I think a handful of hounds with the radar jammer, or maybe even just a handful of sharpshooter with the radar jammer would probably be even more effective than the gunslingers would be, especially against these heavy bulls. But I mean, I don't know. As they're leveling up, as they level up, they get easier and easier to level up, right? They get increased range, which means they get better and better against certain units, including the bull. I guess it really does mean that they can start to get super powerful. You know what I'm saying? The more they level up, the easier it is for them to level up even more. The rich get richer sort of a situation here. LLT's doing a great job against these ticks right here. Blasted to smithereens. We have a couple of these sprinters moving in as well. D-gun. Nice D-gun. Clean. Clean and precise with the gunnery. Banana Joe wipes those sprinters out. And the Sheldon here. Not making much effort. Yeah, standing up on this hillside, killing the entire pink base. Marching forward, killing the red base, eating it all up. That's a win condition right there. The purple and green commanders in tandem here. Being a little bit shy about winning the game at the moment. Leaving the victory in the hands of the cyan commander, who's instead just going to go ahead and use a couple of rocket bots to push into the main base here. Not what you would typically consider an assault bot, but they can get into weird angles and find themselves in places where the enemy can't necessarily counter them. I suppose one of those locations does count as the main base when there's no production, no static defenses, no constructors even. Yeah. Maroon Commander tried very hard to rebuild back into this game, but frankly speaking, that hit early on, losing all the metal, not just those labs going down, but de-gunning them, losing all the metal into vaporized atoms. There's no vacuum filter and Beyond All Reason that's going to pull those back out of the air and back into your metal bank, unfortunately. No refund for de-gunned items, de-gunned toys. T1 constructors set up over here. I'd love to see these maybe setting up a static defense wall. A couple of twin guards right here can be wonderful for shutting down spam, just making sure that they can't leak through all over the place. A couple of well-placed towers can kind of fortify your backline from any rogue ticks or rovers, rascals, that kind of thing that breaks through. Pivoting here into the face of the red push. Kind of the last remaining bastion of red units. We have the base rebuilt over here, kind of. This base isn't actually properly eco-scaled. Vader just kind of spamming out grunts, and the grunts dying over here. Hey, there we go. As if on cue, the Sheldon do move up to the high ground here. Lovely stuff. And I think that's the cue the red team needed, that this game is well and away in a bad spot for them. Resign vote is called. They're one vote away from throwing in the towel here as the Sheldon start firing away into the distance, trying to pop whatever they can. And indeed, the blue team manages to take the win. Wow. With that crazy push on the left-hand side early on into the game, but a beautiful defense from the blue team. And then likewise, another push on the right hand to crack the blue defenses. Held once more very nicely by the blue heroes. They really rallied against an oppressive force. And eventually, the long-term investments they made into T2 economy did pay off. And they managed to grab the victory. In a very close match, beyond all reason. Thanks a ton for watching, and I sure hope you had a wonderful time. And if you did enjoy, of course, feel free to like and subscribe and do all that stuff that YouTubers like to pester people about. And more importantly than that, I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July, I guess is when this video is going to be going live, if you're an American out there. If not, feel free to celebrate alongside us. No reason we shouldn't celebrate each other's independence. I'll do yours and you do mine. How about that? And I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. And I will see you in the very next match of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.